We're live.
Hey, everybody, it's Dale Jr. for the Dale Jr. Download. You guys know that. This is the Ask Junior portion of the show brought to you by Xfinity. Thank you guys for being such supporters of Dirty Mo Media. We are just coming down from an emotional interview with Ernie Irvan. My gosh.
I know.
You know, so we talk about Ernie's career, but, you know, I had a lot of questions about his crash at Michigan. There's no video, hardly any imagery. There's not a lot of accounts of what happened, and he walked us through it and then walked us through how bad off he was, some of the rehabilitation and things. And, oh, my gosh, I had no clue that it was so severe, and for him to come back and even race and win, unbelievable. But thanks for tuning in. Appreciate Xfinity's support for this part of the podcast. They've been great supporters of our show, but also the series or the sport for so many years. Leah has all your guys' questions ready to go, so let's get started.
Yep, first question. We have a couple of Darlington-related questions, so we'll get those out of the way first. First one coming from Linda Lee. Should the truck series make a regular appearance at Darlington?
I think everybody should race at Darlington. Trucks, Xfinity, super late models, whatever. Tour mods.
Lawnmowers. Modifieds.
Darlington, man, yeah, we should just pack the week full of racing, just races and ARCA, all of them, KNN, what the heck ever, you know. Let's start the racing on Monday and not stop till Saturday night or Sunday sometime. You know, everybody can just hang out, camp, barbecue, watch some racing, get back down, go back to the camper, drink some beer, barbecue, get up next day, do the same thing again for like 6 days. How's that sound?
They're loving it. Next question coming from Jason Edwards. Have you ever cleared yourself like we've seen drivers do this year and cause a wreck? What's the conversation like with the spotter, crew chief, and the car owner when you make that call like that and it ends badly?
It happens 1,000 times a race on sim racing online. You know, I typically so a driver so if you pass enough race cars, you kind of learn, and if you bang in enough stuff, you learn where the corners of the car, where they are. And just like you kind of know your own body and how not to run it into things and bounce off of things. You know, when you walk through the door, you don't run into the door jamb. You know, you learn where your body's at and how not to run into things with it. If you're trying to squeeze through a tight space, right? You know in your mind exactly when you're going to make contact with something because you know your body. Well, when you drive a race car, you bolt it in that thing really tight, and it becomes like an extension of your body, and you know where every edge and bumper and corner of that car is. You know it without looking. And if you drive by enough race cars, you kind of know by the speed in which you're going by the car and all those things, you kind of know when you're clear. You got a pretty good idea. And sometimes I think Truex knew it was probably pretty tight, pretty close. Also, the side draft maybe hung the 9 there momentarily and slowed down that pass so that it wasn't complete. And sometimes you take the chance that maybe you can force the guy to the gas to give up the spot. All those things kind of had a role in what happened there in the turn one with Truex. But yeah, I think you know you clear yourself a lot. We do rely on the spotters, but there's sort of this balance between listening to the spotter and taking that information, but also you making most of the decisions yourself. You got to drive the car, you know. And I can drive a race car and go buy a car and pretty much know I'm clear without even needing any help. It's nice to just be able to get that second opinion, I guess, from the spotter. So typically, yeah, race car drivers tend to clear themselves a lot in a race, a lot. There's a lot of that going on, more than we would all. I think we'd all be surprised by, how often a driver probably cleared himself, even though the spotter was still working and clearing. I think the spotter also knew in confidence that he was clear as well, exactly in the moment that he has, eclipsed the bumper of the car that he's trying to pass. So it's just one of them things going down into turn one for Truex and Chase, where Martin was like, man, I think I might be clear, maybe not, and I'm gonna just go in there, and I need the spot. It's now or never, and hopefully Chase lifts. And if there's contact, I don't think Martin thought it was going to send them both into the fence like it did, even if they did get together. But it ended up as bad as it possibly could be for both of those guys.
Our next question comes from Matt Slaga. I'm going to Atlanta this weekend and doing the NASCAR racing experience. I'll be driving 5 minutes on the track. Do you have any advice? 5 minutes. Man, try to stay out there longer. I don't know. What are they going to do? Charge you more? I would probably say that for Atlanta, they're probably going to have, for 5 minutes, they're probably going to be pretty strict about obviously how fast you go, but also where you are on the racetrack. They tend to paint these marks on the track, and they're like, hey, straddle these marks, right? We don't want you next to the apron. We don't want you up against the wall, and they're not going to let you kind of do your own thing. They're going to tell you to stay right in the middle of the track to avoid any kind of issue. But try to figure out if you can get down into turn one a little low, right next to the apron if possible, and also in turns 3 and 4, how bumpy it is through that part of the track. Getting down into turn one, there's a big bump and there's a series of sort of wavy, very challenging bumps in the bottom of the racetrack next to the apron. So I'd check that out. Turns 3 and 4 is a similar sort of wavy all the way through there. It's kind of like the car goes over these hills. So they're not necessarily bumps, but they really upset the race car when you're going through there at 150 miles an hour. You won't be doing that, but you still get an understanding of just how kind of imperfect, the track is. And when you're watching it on TV, if you've never been in a car, you don't see that, right? You just see the car go through the corner and go, it looks relatively smooth, all right? But once you get out there in a car and you can kind of test it out, you learn that the tracks are actually quite imperfect, and there's a lot of what some may call character in the surface. So I'd check that part out with just the 5 minutes that you have. Our next question coming from Travis Elkins. He wants to know, who are some of your favorite stand-up comedians?
My favorite stand-up comedians, Richard Pryor was one, Eddie Murphy, man. I don't know. I haven't been watching much stand-up comedy over the last several years, but, man, I was kind of into it way back in the day. Like I said, the two guys I mentioned, Richard Pryor and Eddie Murphy, are old school. Their stand-up, to me, is still pretty funny today.
Mitch Hedberg.
Mitch was all right. You had to be kind of, Gaffigan was great.
Mike Birbiglia.
Probably listen to him, but don't know can't put a face with it. Gosh, there's a couple that I can't even.
If you're thinking about the one, I wouldn't go there.
Oh, okay. I don't know which one you're thinking about.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm going to be upset because as soon as we get off here, I'm going to remember one that I really liked.
That's the way it always happens.
Yeah. We've had several great comedians at the Dale Jr. Foundation events that we do each year.
That's true.
And some not so good, honestly, if I can be honest. So we used to, at the foundation event, we have this foundation event each October. We're not going to have it this year, but we'll restart it back next year. But we used to do concerts or bands. We had Alabama play one year. But then we went to comedians, because that Alabama show. So
Yeah.
we had Alabama playing. And I'm serious, like, as soon as the event is over, the band starts playing. Like half the people left, or even 40%, right, left the event. And so I'm standing there going, Alabama's playing, and all these people left. That's so messed up. So
It's un-American.
I felt terrible. So we took we changed it up to have comedians, and everybody sticks around for whatever reason. Everybody wants to, everybody loves to laugh. And so those have been pretty successful for our events. So
All right, that's all we got for
That's
today.
it?
That's it.
okay. All right, man. I like them all. Good questions. Again, Ernie Irvin is our guest, and he was amazing. So you don't want to miss that when the show comes out later. When's the show coming out?
Tonight.
All right. You guys are going to love it. Ernie Irvin was awesome. Thanks to Xfinity. Thanks to all you guys for supporting Dirty Mo Media and the Dale Jr. Download. Have a good day.